Hi, my name is Alicia Lamb, and this is my second semester in the Educational Leadership Program. I'm fairly new to this Screenomatic thing, so I'm sorry that I can't get it to not be transparent. I know that's a little frustrating, but at least you can hear my voice. My husband and I have been married for 6.5 years. We have two girls, the ages of 5 and 2, and we are expecting our third on Monday via C-section. So we'll have a new lamb addition to the family as of 1:30 on Monday. I'm looking forward to it. No, we do not know what we're having. That's part of the fun. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a boy, but if we get a girl, we'll be happy with that too. I have been working as a special education teacher in Topeka for 7 years now. I spent 2 years in a psychiatric facility working with kids ages K through 21, and it was an experience. It's what led me to special education because I was trying to become a history teacher before and um, really enjoyed the special education aspect of it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was challenging. I loved that I continued to learn. And I like that I have opportunity to grow professionally. I earned my master's of special education, adaptive special education from KU, and I have earned my Bachelor of Arts from Washburn University in political science, communication, and history. A personal critique of mine is that I need to continue to grow in learning how to write appropriate IEP goals and goals that are very applicable to my students and that I can progress monitor easily. I do find it challenging to pinpoint exactly what needs to be worked on and keeping that goal for a year. IEPs are supposed to last one whole year. However, they are to be fluent also because you can write amendments or make changes if a student reaches that goal, which I do find refreshing, but I also find very challenging because you don't want to have 5 amendments in a year. Um, I also find it difficult when working with low incidence students to create goals that are achievable, knowing how large of an academic gap that they do have. For instance, I have two sixth graders that are considered intellectually disabled, and they are working at about a first, second grade level. So, knowing that in a year's time, I'm hoping that they get to a second, third grade level without regression, and knowing that they're going to move on to the middle school next year is frustrating and a little bit scary. I also need to be a little bit more confident in my math and writing teaching skills. These are areas that I have had little research done, and our district has provided few resources on. We are very, very much reading. We have a ton of reading resources we can use. There's a ton of research out there on reading. However, math is not a set intervention curriculum, and that becomes really hard knowing which way to move through a math curriculum when a student has so many goals, especially when you're working with kids that are on the DLM or dynamic learning maps, the alternate assessment, and the standards are there, but it doesn't give you any idea of what to start with and what to move on with. And I find that very frustrating. Um, Something else I need to just speak more about with people at central office is knowing the district policies and procedures on behaviors. I have a couple of behavior students on my caseload. They don't receive academic services. They are purely on an IEP because of their behavior, and knowing the line to draw when behaviors become so severe, because oftentimes I find it very gray knowing that suspensions lead to greater dropout rates. What are consequences that are actually going to work and make a difference. We are a positive behavior support district, and I know a lot of people are going that way, but what happens when the positives aren't working? What can we do differently? So these are some things I need to look into and work on. My school, we are a growing district, so our population is always increasing. With that being said, our population is always changing. We have become a full title school 2 years ago. We have about 600 kids in my elementary school, three special education teachers, so our caseload is about 30 to 40 students. I currently have 14 on my caseload. And then we have three tier two interventionists that see general education students before they're referred to for evaluation. Um, we rely heavily on data to make those decisions on whether or not a kid goes to a tier two intervention and gets referred to SPED. We are also struggling with our ever changing demographics to get parents more involved. We have a really hard time bringing our parents in for academic nights, or like what we call a Title I fun night, um, reading with kids, getting them to do their homework with them. It's becoming more and more of a challenge, and we're feeling the strain at school. How my school meets the special education needs. We start out by having a SIT, or some districts call it a GEI process, which is a general education intervention. And what happens during that time is a general education teacher brings a student up for referral. There is an intervention done over a set period of time. It is reviewed of whether or not that intervention is working. If it is, we continue. If it's not, then we look at a change. Um, this process can go on for about a year. There's not a real clear-cut line as to how many times we're going to try an intervention before we refer this kid to special education. And sometimes we have had kids in the GEI process for years before they ever get or put up for evaluation. And that is incredibly frustrating for special education teachers and gen ed teachers, because we're losing out on information. We're losing out on direct instruction that we could be providing a kid and closing a gap, instead of putting the kid in an intervention where they see small progress being made for 2, sometimes 3 years. Being with a sixth grade team, I find it very frustrating to have a kid just being referred for eval and qualifying in sixth grade, knowing that they have been receiving interventions for 3, 4, 5 years, because I could have provided direct instruction, um, closing that gap faster than if they would have been just placed with their gen ed peers and barely making progress that was keeping them afloat. So, something I would like our school to do is to continue the process that we have, because I feel like it's important to keep that data to track what they've done and what their struggles are, but to move that process along a little bit quicker. I don't have a real answer for that. I think we need to be confident in our decisions. I think we need to stop ho-humming around and just say, hey, this hasn't worked after 3 different interventions. Let's look at an eval. What is this kid really struggling with? And how are we going to attempt to fix that problem? There are a lot of people involved, so communication gets laxed. If the kid is referred at the end of the school year, then moving to the new grade level can change, because that teacher may not want to go through the process, or that teacher doesn't see a great concern. And so being able to narrow down our process, communicate a little bit better, would be a great guiding light in using our services that our school provides. We have a lot to offer, and I think if we start using our resources a little bit more effectively, we might see some greater growth for our students. I am looking forward to learning from everyone this semester. I'm looking forward to seeing what special education is from a leadership standpoint and not just a teacher standpoint. And I think it's going to be interesting to know more laws, because there's always laws that we need to understand a little bit better in the end and can maybe help us make better decisions when it comes to our kids.